Hello and welcome. I'm Kenyana Scott Bell, and I am Vice President and Associate General Counsel for ADP. I am super excited to be here today to talk to our guest, Allison Robinson from the Mom Project. Really looking forward to getting to know her and understand about this great company that she has. With that, I'm going to kick it off with letting Allison just introduce herself a bit, and we can go from there.
Thank you so much, Kenyana, and it's such a pleasure to be here today with you talking about a topic I care so much about. Hello, everyone. Allison Robinson. I am the founder and CEO of the Mom Project. The Mom Project is a talent marketplace that connects over 500,000 moms, dads, and allies with incredible work opportunities at some of the best companies in the world. And our mission or our vision is to really be able to unlock the potential of moms and caregivers in the economy. I started the company now about 5 years ago. Prior to that, I was leading our Pampers innovation business for North America at Procter & Gamble, which gave me a unique lens into how technology was changing consumer behavior, specifically for moms. And I discovered while on maternity leave myself that over 40% of American women leave the workforce after having children, and saw in that sobering stat a massive opportunity to make it better and more of a reality for women to have both the careers that they desire as well as be able to be really active parents. And so that was really the catalyst for creating the Mom Project. And it's been just such a humbling, rewarding journey over the last 5 years building this alongside my team.
So Allison, thank you for that. I think, when you sort of talked about sort of what inspired you, right, in terms of looking at how the market handles sort of mothers or working parents coming back. It's a challenge. I think it's a challenge that all working moms and working parents encounter. I just kind of wanted to get your sense of, are there any particular challenges or hurdles that are unique to sort of the environment that we're living in today? And if so, how have you guys been able to address those?
Yeah, I mean, it's always been hard to be a working parent. Let's call it a spade a spade. It's really tough to do both jobs simultaneously. And I think what the pandemic exposed was a lot of cracks in our system, specifically our very fragile childcare system. And so early on in the onset of the pandemic, we saw many daycares having to shut their doors and schools shifting to be remote. And so parents had to take on a whole new role as educators, as caregivers, in addition to their full-time jobs, which forced many women out of the workforce, unfortunately, last year. But we know that this is not a new trend. This is something that women have really struggled with for decades. And in fact, the female labor participation rate has been stagnating over the last 30 years. So now is the time for us to take bold action as leaders to really reimagine the workplace to be more supportive and more excited to hire and retain parents, because this is such a critical and talented segment of the workforce.
Absolutely. We talked about, you mentioned last year, 2020, and I know the title of this session is Year of the Mother. And so can you just sort of share a little bit about sort of what some of the things that the Mom Project is doing perhaps differently, or how you're using technology and innovation to enable moms to continue to be a part of the workforce as well?
Of course, Kenyana. And I love that we're calling this Year of the Mother. Moms certainly put it all out there in 2020 and suffered a lot of consequences. And so, I think women and mothers must be at the core of the rebuilding of our economy. post-pandemic. Some of the ways that we're tackling these kind of macro challenges at the Mom Project, number one, our core mission is unlocking the potential of mothers in the workplace. So the hard work that we do every day is getting moms in jobs where they can be really, really successful. And that responsibility has taken new meaning and new significance after seeing over 2 million women that left the workforce last year alone. So we have an extreme sense of urgency to meet with more companies, find great jobs to get these women back to work and fueling our economy, number one. Number two, we have the great honor of working with many Fortune 100 executives to help them reimagine the parental experience for their employees. And that could mean, how do we launch a new parental leave policy? How could we be more kind of inclusive in our hiring practices? How do we have more off-ramps or on-ramps or project-based work to kind of account for a non-linear career path, et cetera? So we love working hand in hand with the customers that we partner with to help them create a more inclusive work environment for women, parents, families, because we think that benefits everybody. And then finally, a lot of efforts at the Mom Project focused on upskilling, and particularly women of color, who we know were most impacted coming out of the pandemic. And so last year, we actually launched a 501c3, momproject.org. And through our inaugural initiative, Rise, we've committed to elevating 10,000 women of color by upskilling them and getting them jobs in technology, and trained in Salesforce and Apple and Microsoft, Google. So we're really excited because we know that the pandemic had a particularly devastating impact on women of color. And so we want to bring them into high earning fields like technology. And then the last thing that I would say, Kenyana, is just really kind of leveraging this incredible community that we have between our customers, which are fast growing startups, Fortune 500s, our community of over 500,000 parents, and our partners, to really be able to kind of bring that all together. And we know there's a lot of power in shared experiences. And so we've recently launched programs like Rally, which connects moms with other moms who maybe successfully navigated a return to the workforce. And we help moms land their next job through equipping them with a beautiful resume where they can talk about the critical skills that they earned from their time away from the paid workforce. So we're keeping pretty busy these days. It's such a major problem. We just try to chip away at it day by day. I also personally am very passionate about federal public policy that I think could do such a number to help unlock this problem at scale through things like paid family leave, universal pre-K. These are all things that really uniquely penalize parents in America as we compare ourselves to other developed nations.
Absolutely. I mean, Allison, I'm sitting here listening to you, and I am absolutely thrilled that it sounds like your company has been very flexible and nimble in really responding to sort of not only sort of this long-term issue that we've had with working mothers, but really what we faced in 2020, right? And in terms of your focus across the board on equitable childcare, on your D&I initiatives, because I think you're right. We know that communities of color and moms of color have been severely impacted. And so your focus on policy changes, I mean, this is absolutely wonderful. And I'm sure, and any company would be absolutely sort of on the right track to partner with you. I know we talked about before the session a particular partnership that you're very excited about with Accenture. If you want to just spend a few minutes talking about that as well.
Yeah, so we spoke a bit earlier about the mass exodus of women from the workforce, setting us back to maternal labor participation rates not seen since the 80s. And so for us, that's, emboldened us to seek partners who want to take big action and make big moves to reverse this backslide. And so we're so excited about our partnership with Accenture. Accenture has publicly committed to reach gender equality, equal representation, equal gender representation by 2025, and selected the Mom Project as a strategic partner in helping them bring more women back into the workforce in 2021, and committed to making 150 hires to the Mom Project through the balance of the year. And I've just been so impressed by that team. I've had the privilege of working closely with the CEO of the Midwest region, Lee, and they just really put their money where their mouth is, and their willingness to kind of look at candidates who have so much potential, but maybe not the types of resumes or backgrounds that they're accustomed to hiring for in some of these consulting and technology roles, but really just being so open-minded. So that's a really exciting partnership for them, where we'll really be able to move the needle. We're also working with them to support their apprenticeship program to help upskill women of color. And we're also doing some work with them to support their internal employee base, and continue to make Accenture a great place to work for women and parents. So, for us, it's kind of a dream partnership where we get to make progress on a lot of different levels.
Right. It sounds like it. I mean, that's great. That's absolutely great. Before we met, I had an opportunity to kind of read a couple of articles about the Mom Project. And one thing that stuck out to me is you noted that someone had told you once that, in terms of meeting the challenges of working motherhood, it's not always a balance, right? We always talk about trying to reach that balance. And as a working mother of three elementary girls, for me, I always look at it as sort of integrating, right? You're not going to always be able to balance. But you had mentioned that someone said, it's about establishing boundaries, right, in terms of how you work. And I guess my question is, how have you found, I think that's even more difficult right today, where you're working from home, and more than likely you have your children also at home. So yeah. What are your thoughts around that?
And I would preface this answer by saying I don't feel equipped to teach a master class in work-life integration. Kind of building a business through a pandemic, managing 150 employees through incredible amount of change, and kind of tackling such a large problem. I don't think that I am kind of the role model in creating those boundaries. So I just have to give you that disclaimer to be authentic. It's a constant journey for myself. I think, for me, my kids are 3 and 5, and I know I'll never get these years back. So while something might feel really urgent, I know, if I look back on how I spent my time 10 years from now, like the work, I think constraints force clarity. And so I've really tried to put some limits on myself. I find that my most kind of productive hours are in the morning. And so I try to avoid meetings in the morning, so I can do some deep, thoughtful work, and then engage with my team and customers, partnership, investor discussions in the afternoon. That seems to be a rhythm that works well for me. I try not to schedule meetings after 5:30, 6 o'clock. I'm working East Coast hours, and we're becoming more distributed. So that's getting a little bit more challenging as our team grows on the West Coast. But just making time for what matters. And I think, as leaders, you have a unique benefit of being able to really be able to do that for yourself and make those puts and takes to be there for your kids and their soccer game or dinner. So I think we really have to look after the people on our teams who might not feel like they have as much control over their schedule. I think there's a gap there that I'd love to rectify in terms of offering work-life integration just to everybody, irrespective of a level you are within an organization.
Right. That makes complete sense. I mean, I'm fortunate to have a great team, and my entire team, they're all working parents. And, 6, 7 months into the pandemic, I said, you know what, we're going to stop apologizing for our kids walking into the meeting, and we're going to stop apologizing for the dog or having to join a few minutes late because you're trying to get your kid on their Zoom. That doesn't work. And I just think it's, as a leader and as companies, setting that tone, right? And sort of reestablishing sort of what the work environment looks like, right? I love that you talked about earlier how you also partner other moms with working moms, right?
Mm-hmm.
Just to kind of understand the challenge, understand sort of what has to happen there, and that you're going to make mistakes. So you're not going to always have that perfect balance, but you can still be successful.
I think that's the most important thing, to have grace with yourself, because there's some days you feel like you're killing it, like at home and at work, and then other days you're like, oh my gosh, I didn't do any of it well, but no, in the end, you're just doing an amazing job. And I think that's when I reflect back on these days when I would meet with these moms at campers, and I just saw how hard these incredible women worked to build a better future for their family. And that's truly what motivates me, because I believe by solving for women, by solving for moms, not only are they going to benefit their children and their families, and they pick up on our cues. And so giving grace to ourselves, or, allowing others to have that same grace for themselves.
No, absolutely. Absolutely. I totally agree with that. Have you seen there sort of a difference in terms of what companies are on your platform, what companies sort of seek today, right? Sort of again, sort of this in or post COVID versus, and what mothers are asking for and seeking today versus a year ago? Can you speak to that a little bit?
I would say two of the trends that are most pronounced that I've observed. One is with the racial injustice that we saw last year, that companies really mobilizing their efforts around diversity, specifically ethnic diversity. So that has just been a very present trend that we've seen, that we've been really happy to support our customers through. Our platform is actually over 45% ethnically diverse. And then I would say the second is remote work. After March, April of last year, the number of jobs that were fully remote on our platform increased 5x, 6x month over month. And so we'd already seen a lot of small businesses willing to adopt more flexible work remote, but to see large enterprise companies adopt this new way of working has been incredible. And certainly, that's kind of a key success factor for the women on our platform. So it's been really nice to see the acceleration of remote work.
Yeah, I mean, I think what's going to happen is while I think there's a certain kind of culture that you can establish when you're working, in person. I do think we're going to see the way we all work will change post this pandemic. And certainly when I look at sort of your goals and what the Mom Project has been able to do, you're redefining that. You're creating a new model. So I think that is great, but I can't imagine that we will go back to the way we all thought about work pre the pandemic, right? And maybe that is a good thing, that it will allow the opportunity and the flexibility for moms to be able to integrate, create boundaries, balance working as well as being, a very active parent.
Yeah, the work structure certainly favors moms. Now we just got to get more of them back into these flexible jobs. Yeah.
Yeah. So I know we're closing in, but I just wanted to to sort of say, like, I am so impressed by your vision, Allison, and I think it's great that you used motherhood as an inspiration, right, to sort of stay on the on ramp and sort of build a company that will allow other mothers. I'm probably dating myself, but when I started in the workplace, we didn't have cell phones, and you had to be in the office, and even thinking about starting a family somehow was looked upon as something you wanted to hide, right? And it wasn't sort of your authentic self. And I think certainly what you've been able to do is really change that dialogue, right? Change that vision of motherhood and make an impact. So I hope more companies like Accenture will also partner with you, because I think it's a great model. And mothers are great to include in part of the culture and the fabric of a company. If I could just sort of close with one question is, if you had a blank check or a blanket ask of companies to how you would impact, the working mom for tomorrow, the working parent, what would that be?
I would say make hiring and retaining moms a really critical strategic part of your workforce strategy. One thing that I think many people don't realize is 86% of women will become moms by age 44. So moms are not a niche. They are a massive and critical segment of the workforce. And I think it's the responsibility of all of us to build and reimagine that workplace where they can really thrive and be successful, so their children, their communities, their families can benefit. So, pick one thing that you think you can do really well. Maybe that's making a hiring initiative to specifically support women coming back to work. Maybe it's taking a policy that could be a bit better. Maybe you have low utilization. Maybe it's investing in childcare. But do one thing that will impact women and start there, and then aim higher. But it starts with one change at a time. So I would just encourage everyone to be a change agent within your organization. It's such a critical junction in our country's history. Women must be at the core of the rebuilding of our economy, and I ask you to join me in this endeavor.
That's wonderful. And I love reimagine the workplace. That's perfect. Allison, thank you so much for your time. It's been great speaking with you. Thank you.
It was a pleasure. I hope we get to meet in person someday.
I hope so. I hope so.
Thank you so much. Have fun with your girls. Cheers.
Thank you. And you with your sons as well.
Thanks. Bye.
All righty. Bye.